Ultimate equipment is the standard in JRPGs because, gamers just love making the numbers big. Turns out when computer nerds design an artistic medium, a lot of that artistic medium will be statistically focused. People optimize loadouts for their intended strategies, but oftentimes the game just has a best loadout by default for each character. Sometimes the game even gives these loadouts narrative significance. Mother 3 isn't really such a game on the surface. In fact, it doesn't appear to treat equipment as anything more than a formality on the surface. They're often empty stat exchanges, with the exception of a few that have lore significance, like the friend's yo-yo and the real bat. But I think there might be more to it than meets the eye. Each character has a definitive loadout, and the entire cast seems to have some symbolism going on with their ultimate equipment, with one exception. Yes, even the temporary characters of Flint and Salsa I will be talking about. Lucas doesn't really have a lot to talk about. His equipment doesn't really have any significant mythological symbolism that I can think of. I mean, I can't really compare the awesome cape to anything after all. Its entire ultimate set is just awesome things, save for the ultimate weapon, which is called the mystical stick. Not a whole lot there to work with other than the obvious definitions of the adjectives, which I'm sure you're not here to see. There is something interesting about the awesome set, though, and that is that it's very kingly. And the mystical stick even looks like a scepter. I don't know what this implies about Lucas, but maybe it's because he's the chosen one who must pull the needles? Maybe because he's a bourgeoisie, decadent piece of shit? The world will never know. Flint is the father of Lucas, and he's a character that I really like. He's a stoic throwback to Clint Eastwood, and you play as him for the first 3 or 4 hours of the game. His ultimate accessory is the Aquarius bracelet, which is where our focus is going on. Flint himself actually aligns with a lot of the traits of an Aquarius if you believe in astrology, and though I don't personally believe in it, it's an interesting lens to look at the character through. Much like an Aquarius purportedly, Flint himself is intelligent and thoughtful. Though I wouldn't say he's charismatic, he's definitely emotionally complex, and he's one of the first villagers to make a stand against the changes being made to Tasmily. His quiet and stoic nature lends him well to listening and giving solid advice, especially since he seems to be on the older side. He doesn't seem very loving in a traditional sense, so a lot of aspects don't match up perfectly, but of course astrology is all about painting things with a broad brush and hoping something hits. The next party member you get is Boney, Lucas's dog, and there's nothing really to talk about here. All of his equipment is just standard stuff. You might be wondering what Duster, the thief who doesn't steal anything, has to offer. Well, Duster is the only character here who has multiple pieces of equipment that I'm going to be talking about. There's the Sagittarius bracelet and the Horus bandana. I quite like comparing Duster to the Sagittarius because I'm a Sagittarius and Duster is my favorite of the main characters in the party. Those with the sign are purportedly generous and idealistic, and I'd argue Duster is both of those. After all, even though he has no personal stake in the conflict, Duster is willing to give a significant amount of time to helping Lucas and his friends. In terms of idealism, he's definitely got at least some of that in him from his time as Lucky, fighting off the pigmask by playing out a blowout number in their home domain. If that isn't sticking it to the man with the people's ideals, then I don't know what is. Not only that, he has a great sense of humor about the various situations he gets stuck in, though whether or not it's intentional I wouldn't be able to tell you, which is another trait Sagittariuses apparently have. However, that's just one half of Duster's discussion. There's also the Horus aspect, which I find infinitely more interesting. What the hell does Duster have to do with Horus, the god of the sky in Egyptian mythology? Well, Duster's two sides, Duster and Lucky, might represent the sun and the moon, which are said to be stored inside of Horus. Hell, you only see one of them, that being Lucky, at night. Duster also is similar in function to an Eye of Horus. As a thief of justice, he is supposed to be a protector and warder of evil for the royal family of Osoi Castle, much like an Eye of Horus would be for Egyptian royalty. Overall, I quite like these interesting yet tenuous connections. Next, we have the tomboyish character of Princess Kumatora, who only has a zodiac connection, her Virgo bracelet, which is your ultimate accessory. Virgos apparently have a million ideas per second, which is reflected in how Kumatora is brash and impulsive, and is often the one who comes up with improvised plans when they're in a pinch, like when she's cornered with Salsa the monkey against Facade. She's also super judgmental of Duster and constantly comments on his absent-mindedness, at least when she's younger. She's often the first to insult someone, but genuinely doesn't mean any harm. She just wants people to be better. Like with calling Duster a moron, she clarifies to Wes that she only does so if it will help him stop being a moron, which it won't if he truly is one in her blunt terms. Finally, there's Salsa, the monkey enslaved by the main villains. Much like Flint, you don't have control of him for a very long time in the story, but when you do gain control over him, you can tell from his Pisces bracelets that, yeah, he's definitely the fish one. He's compassionate, going to any length to save his monkey girlfriend. He's gentle, being the monkey Casanova that he is. He's sad and a victim in his servitude to Facade. Honestly, I think he fits his archetype the best of any of them. But since we don't get much time with him, it's hard to say whether or not he likes being alone or any of those other wacky Pisces things. It especially doesn't help that he doesn't talk at all throughout the game's runtime, being the only party member who is perpetually mute. To conclude, the equipment of Mother 3, even though it's limited, fits the characters in a way that I thought was fun to come up with. I like how mythology is used to connect to the characters, though I don't like how it's incredibly underutilized. This has been Arcade and Everlasting, Tenuous Zodiac Connections Extraordinaire, signing off. Thank you for watching.